everybody. Welcome to Talking Heartland. This is the show where we talk about back episodes of Heartland, and we are in season 8, episodes 10, 11, and 12. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle is here.
Hey, everyone.
And Amy's here.
Hey.
The original team back together. This is very exciting. Yay. How have y'all been?
Yeah, good.
Good to hear. All right. Well, I'm excited to talk about these episodes, and let's go for it. And the first one is season 8, episode 10, The Heart of the River. And in this episode, we have the summary is with the wild horses in jeopardy of being removed from their home, Amy and Ty hatch a plan to save them from the meat truck and ultimately reconnect with each other. Back at Heartland, Lou and Peter are under investigation from the Child Protection Society. So, Michelle, overall, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I love this episode. Obviously, it feels sort of like the second part of a two-parter for last week's episode. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And, you know, the Christmas episode, while it is sort of canon of the show because of the way it is on Netflix, like it's out of order, so it feels very separate. And I love that they've sort of brought these characters back and, you know, made them really part of the show. Yeah, I love this episode. Just pretty much everything you would want from Heartland is in this episode.
Amy, what do you think overall?
I love this episode and the one before it are my favorites in like the entire series. And just for some background context, like we waited a week in between to watch these two episodes, but last week's episode was the mid-season finale, so it was a month until the first episode today when it originally aired, as like a two-parter, which would have bugged me so much. Like on Netflix, I was able to just watch the next one.
Yeah,
but I can't imagine waiting an entire month because these are just two of my favorite episodes of like the whole series. And I love the characters from the Christmas movie. I absolutely love the girl who runs the bar, who's also one of the main characters in Murdoch Mysteries. I love her so much. So yeah, I love
Joanna.
This episode.
Yeah.
Yes, Joanna. Yes.
I completely agree with both of you. I think this is like peak Heartland. I think this is a great episode. It has something really meaningful from every single character, and the ending is really well earned. And it's just a great episode for Amy and Ty. It's a great episode for Peter and Lou. It's a great episode for Jack. All the characters have really key moments, and I don't know, very well done. I really liked this episode a lot.
Even Tim wasn't like irritating at all in this episode.
That's true. That's definitely very true. So it starts out with Amy and Ty. They might be arrested if they don't return the horses, and they're obviously struggling with that. Ty says, we'll figure this out one step at a time. And they have sort of this argument about whether there's a need for a cull because there's a natural cull with Mother Nature, the flood, a bad winter. And they try to convince this guy, Matt, to at least let them monitor the horses and see if they can convince him. But the meat truck is coming the next day, and Matt is determined to sell the horses to the meat truck. He claims that he wants the highest bidder, but he's obviously there's more than that to his resentment over the horses. And one thing I liked about this whole arc is that some of the townspeople agree with Matt. It's not just like a flat, he's evil, Amy is perfect, kind of a dichotomy, because they feel like there are some arguments made of why the culling should occur. And it's not just black and white as it could have been, especially for Heartland. Do you agree, Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought it was interesting that Matt sort of lays it all out, but he sort of gives them numbers and things that was sort of pre-floods, pre sort of a really bad winter. So it sort of calls into question like the need for the cull. But it is just one of those things that Heartland is really good at doing in terms of like bringing in the reality of, you know, animals and, you know, the harsh things that sort of happen. You know, Amy sort of works with animals, but in terms of, you know, dealing with the hard stuff, she really struggles with it. I know, like, I talk about my dog all the time, but the dog that I have now, that I got from Romania, he, you know, that country really struggles with overpopulation of dogs. You know, stray dogs everywhere, and they do essentially a cull, to, you know, keep the population of the animals down, to keep them away from farmlands and things like that. So it is just one of those things it's just one of the sort of really difficult things in the world.
Yeah. Amy, what do you think about the way that they handled this whole situation?
Well, I agree. I kind of liked that it wasn't just, oh, Amy's a savior, she's going to take care of everything. There really was, and especially when like they had the meeting in the bar and everything, it was really a community that was disagreeing on this, and Amy and Ty's efforts to try and assist. I really liked that it wasn't just Amy's going to come in, save the day type of thing. They really had to work for it with the townspeople, with Matt, everything like that. Yeah. So I really like that element.
And that was a great scene, I thought, when Amy sees the horse that they'd rescued last time, and she's just screaming at it, you know, to go away and to, you know, to not get caught, and that was a very, very good scene. I thought Amber Marshall did a good job there for that one.
Yeah, actually, I noticed in this episode, I don't know if Amy you would know, but I noticed that Amber Marshall's credited as a producer. So so sort of interesting.
I'm not sure if she started. I'm not sure when it started that she became because she was a producer and then an executive producer. I'm not sure how that has changed through the series.
And this is our friend Heather Conkey who wrote this episode. So
yeah,
if you haven't listened to our interview with Heather, y'all should, because she's awesome. And
I think this is one of her best. Like, honestly, it's one of her best, I think.
I agree. And you have this great scene between Will, Vernon, and Jack. I thought was very well written, very well done. Where, you know, Will says, "I'm sick of and tired of fighting and losing." And, you know, Jack tells him that he should go and be with his daughter and allow her to sell the farm. And he says, "You're telling me to do something you would never do. You're not going to move anywhere," which I thought was a really good moment for the character, because it is true that he won't even go on a vacation with Lisa de France. Like he barely went. And you know, they were still living in different houses, and they're so, I mean, he is not about to be leaving Heartland anytime soon. So I thought that was a very good scene.
Yeah, definitely. I was like, Jack, you're not going to do it. So why are you trying to convince him to when you know you wouldn't? Yeah.
That was really good. And then, you know, and then Jack says, go over and say a proper goodbye to the horses. That was good. What do you think about that, Michelle?
Yeah, I thought it was really, really great, and I like that it doesn't win right away. It's fantastic that we get 2 episodes of this, because like Amy says, it makes it much more, you know, deeper, that they really have to earn what they get in the end. Even with Will, you know, he tries and tries and tries, and you can see why he's so tired. At this point, he still doesn't win.
Yeah, and I was surprised that even when Will goes down and shows the painting to Matt and gives this passionate speech about how his father loved these horses and loved caring for the horses. That I thought that would be the end of it. Like that felt like a kind of a heartland arc, and that would win Matt over. And it doesn't really. It's still, it surprised me that
that would have been like a nice like package and bow Heartland ending. But I definitely think that they're trying to show that this character is completely overwhelmed by grief and is blaming something because of that, blaming something else instead of necessarily going through the grieving process.
Yeah. And then at the end, we see that they've kind of dealt with everything, and all of a sudden they hear the sound of the horses and you see them coming back, and it was very effective. Very effective.
I do think that, I mean, I know this wasn't really mentioned in the episode, but it very much makes me think back to what happened, you know, first episode when Amy's mom passed. This could have been Amy. Amy could have been the one, you know, blaming the horses for her mother's death, which she did originally in the beginning, but, you know, Spartan helped her get over that. But I definitely think this episode shows a little bit of what could have happened to Amy if she hadn't have had Spartan and started that relationship and everything, and had like the strong people around her. That's what this episode always reminds me of, is like, this is what could have been Amy.
That's a good point.
Had things been different.
Yeah, that's true. And Amy and Ty, throughout all of this, their relationship grows quite a bit, which is really very effective. And I'm sure the fans must have gone nuts at the time. This whole thing. I love when he's like, "Do you want to take a walk?"
I love how smug Tim is though. Like, he set this whole thing up.
Yeah, that's true. I'm like, "Yeah, you want to take a walk? I want to take a walk." And then Amy says, "This is what I miss the most, us working together." And they it's so cute. And they kind of bond again with the horse that they had rescued last time. It brings back all the old memories. And then after Will shows the painting and Matt is still so pig-headed, you get this moment where Ty's comforting Amy, and it's very, very sweet. And when they have this whole conversation, and she says, "I was a nightmare when I came back from tour." And Ty says, "Now I know we share the same dreams and goals. These last few days, I've been watching you, and you are the same girl. You are the same girl I fell in love with, and more." And that was super swoon-worthy, I think. You agree, Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sort of reasoning of Ty's, of like Amy's changed, really never sort of rang true for me. Like, yeah, she was a bit of a nightmare when she came back, but this idea that she was fundamentally like a different person was it just didn't track for me. What more makes sense is like Amy's grown up, and you're not going to stay the same. And that really just felt like what had happened. And Ty was sort of adjusting to that. I mean, I've never really, the breakup itself, I've never really struggled with in these episodes, because it's like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It felt like a way to sort of delay the wedding. So it just sort of felt very sort of frustrating. But
well,
I loved
the whole great thing about
speech at the end.
The whole great thing about marriage is, I mean, I'm not married, but what I think is great about it is that you are changing together. Because of course people aren't going to stay the same, but that's what's so great about it, is that you have someone there to help you and to love you as you change together. I mean, that's the goal, at least I would think. And he says, "You have changed in a great way. I discovered I'm okay on my own, but I know something else. I don't want to do it on my own." Swinworthy.
Yeah. That was like a great moment of Ty saying that. Like, I think that is a big thing that for a lot of people is like trying to be on your own for the first time is really hard.
Yeah.
Especially with Ty, being on his own and then sort of finding this sort of found family and then being on his own again. Like, I feel like that was sort of character moment for him and sort of saying like he's really grown up. He's got a career. Well, a couple of careers. But yeah, it's a great moment for Ty.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Amy?
I think that scene specifically, it just shows how much growth, and especially the past 2 seasons, we have gotten from both of these characters. There's just been a tremendous amount of growth, and I think I really appreciate that in this series, unlike some others where it's like they're getting married and everything's happy and it's great, that they are still learning to be around each other. They're still learning and changing and understanding that things are going to change, things are going to be different, and both of them, from Amy going away, I think learned a lot about each other and about themselves. And I love this scene. I think it's one of the best scenes in the whole series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so good. And then he's like, "Are you ready for this?" Like, yes. It's very good. And then they decide they're getting married in 3 months, and they're going to tell the whole family. So that is quite a little whirlwind for them, but it's very effective. It's great. Because I think sometimes when just get married. Like, you're ready. There's no point to have a long engagement, or at least you certainly don't have to. Just get married. You're ready.
Hey, and sometimes short engagements mean less people you don't want at the wedding coming because they don't have the time to figure it out.
That's true. Yeah. So the other main plot to this episode is, of course, you have the social services counselor there to investigate Lou and Peter, and if Georgie is being treated well. And her name is Abby, and she is an associate of Clint's. And so she's actually trying to impress Clint of doing such a good job here. And, she's asking them all of these questions about Georgie's life. And, she says 3 hours of work on a farm might be child labor. She had the accident doing the trick riding. That's seen as abuse, all this kind of thing. I mean, that was definitely extremely stressful because, everybody has things that aren't perfect in their family. And if put under a microscope, might not look the best, but you're working, you're growing. But then also, of course, you understand the perspective of the social services that there's a line between normal dysfunction and abuse, right? And you have to kind of figure out that line. And I mean, you, Amy, as a teacher, you probably sometimes might have to just sort of face these same kind of decisions about what's happening with this child. What do I do? Kind of a thing. How did you feel about this whole section?
Well, of course, as a teacher, I am a mandated reporter, so I am required by law to report when I suspect abuse. But this episode, I think, did a really good job of showing that sidedness of both parties having to do what they need to do, which is best for the child. So, you have the person from social services who has to do her job, has to be extremely thorough, and unfortunately has to ask questions that are very difficult and can very much seem like judgmental or, I guess, assuming. But also, we see, which in social services eyes, you don't see the background like we are on this TV show. We see how Lou and Peter treat Georgie and how, Georgie does these things because she likes them. So you see both sides in this episode, and I think it's a really good
good descriptor of that. I'm very fortunate that I have not been in a situation where I've really had to deal with social services all that much yet. So I don't really have that much experience on that end, aside from my training and stuff. But I do think you see both sides here very well. And I'm kind of glad they didn't just make it out to be that this Abigail is just like evil, that she's doing her job type of thing. Because we see Clint, and Clint's like a totally different character from this Abigail girl. So yeah, but I think they did a good job of it. Again, I don't have a ton of experience with this though, so I could be wrong.
No, what do you think of this? Because I thought Alicia did a great job she's a very talented little actress. And I thought she did a very good job in these scenes when she's saying, you're supposed to be helping us. You're supposed to be helping me. What are you doing? What did you feel about these whole sections?
Yeah, so I agree with Amy. They did a great job at showing both sides. It's one of the reasons that I have like huge respect and admiration for people that, adopt or foster, because they are, making that conscious choice to put their whole sort of lives under a microscope. At really any point, at any point, someone can drop in and, investigate their life and really just go right back. So I thought they did a great job, and I also thought they did a good job of not painting the social worker as the villain. I feel like that's something that we see in media a lot, of like painting a social worker of like this person that's coming in and dragging a child away from a family. And that's, if Crystal got away, that could definitely have happened here. But I thought they did they had a really good balance of, like Amy says, getting both sides across.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I didn't like in the episode is that I think that Crystal with this whole blackmail scheme is a little ridiculous. I can't imagine that she could think that she could get away with this. It just feels like, I mean, she's not even her real, if she was an actual birth mother, then maybe I could see it a little bit more, but she's an aunt. It's like she doesn't have inherent parental rights to see Georgie. Like, what? I mean, it just doesn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like they would have maybe looked into the person reporting that a little bit more, that she is an aunt who has had no direct contact with the child. And I'm also pretty sure that this aunt would have been old enough to take those two children when their parents died, and she did not. So I'm thinking that also might have played into their investigation a little bit more, if this was real life. But again, I'm not entirely sure. It seemed, that did seem a little bit off. But at the same time, at this point, Georgie's not 100% adopted, correct? I can't remember if she is.
I think they got the adoption went through, I think.
Okay, so if she's fully adopted, then it's a little bit different than if she was still a foster, because if she was still a foster, when she broke her arm, there would have been an entire investigation. But if she's fully adopted at this point, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but I feel like I remember it being a moment where she gets fully adopted and then she writes her name on the chimney.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if that had happened already. But yeah, if she's fully adopted, the investigation would be a little bit different, but they would still have to investigate a report like that, because this was a foster child and a recent foster child, a recent adoption. They have to look into that because, unfortunately, there's some people out there that foster or adopt for the wrong reasons. So they have to be super, super careful.
Yeah. Definitely, they would need to look into it, but the whole idea that I deserve compensation to be out of Georgie's life is insane. Like, crazy.
She was just looking for money. Like that wouldn't, yeah.
And so then Georgie yells at Crystal, and then they create this whole scheme of how they're going to kind of trap her. a little bit, and Abby overhears her and says that criminal charges may be laid for you. And that's totally legit. Like what she's doing is wrong. And she would, it's not okay to extort people for money.
Yeah. And I don't know how it is in Canada, but I do know it is illegal to knowingly falsify a report. So
yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then Peter and Lou make up. And so the family, at least for the moment, for one moment, is happy, which is great.
Yeah.
And so that's the episode. I think it's a great episode. I'm tempted to give it a 10. I mean, aside from Crystal, it's really the only part that was not the best. But for under an hour of television, they packed a lot into this episode, and it was very satisfying. Yeah, I'm going to say 9.5. So almost perfect for me. It was really good. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I would say 9.5, and I would say like the whole two-parter was probably like a 10 for me.
Agreed. What about you, Amy?
Yeah, I totally agree. 9.5, and the whole two-parter, definitely a 10. Love it.
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Let's talk about episode 11, The Silent Partner. And in this one, we have Amy discovers that Peter declined a lucrative job offer that would have moved his work closer to home. Georgie, overwhelmed with responsibility, asks her friend to help exercise Phoenix. Ty finds out Kayla partnered with Jesse Stanton. So overall, Amy, what do you think of this episode?
Again, I think this is a really, really strong episode. It's a sad episode for many reasons, I think, in certain parts of it, but a really, really strong Heartland episode. I really liked it.
What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, strong episode. And sort of watching this episode and the next episode, I sort of got a feeling, hopefully that this is really going to finally dive into like Lou and Peter's problems, and not in a way that's going to like wash them away in like a couple of episodes and we'll have the same argument next season. It felt like we were finally starting to sort of deal with the issues in their marriage.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I get a little tired of them just fighting, but at least it did. I agree with you. I feel like this fight actually kind of progressed them as characters instead of just having the same things over and over and over again. Yeah. So what do you think of at the beginning of the episode? They're like Ty and Amy's like flirty selfie session.
It's so cute.
Yeah, really there were some good pictures.
Yeah.
That was very, very cute, but funny to me. And we have Lou asking Peter to change his job. And Lou is hoping that if Amy works with this guy named Tanner Gunn, that he will want to hire Peter, and then Amy can kind of convince him to hire Peter. And what do you think, Amy, of sort of Lou's attempt to sort of manipulate Peter?
Well, on one hand, I understand where she's coming from because definitely been a huge strain on the relationship, and they've hardly, like you said, I feel like, oh, they'd start talking about it and then it would just, oh, they're fine again, of him not working in Calgary or nearby, him, being a plane away. That definitely was a strain for her, and I can understand why she wanted to meddle like this. But at the same time, not only is she meddling in Peter's career, but also, she's kind of making Amy go out of her way to do something that really is not Amy's place. At least I don't think so. So yeah, but I understand where Lou is coming from, but at the same time, not really. Like, I think Ty says later on, like, you need to let Lou and Peter take care of this, because this is Amy's getting too involved now.
Yeah, what do you think of that, Michelle?
Yeah, I agree. I sort of cringed the second this started, because I was like, oh God, it's just going to, it's just going to all blow up in her face when Peter finds out. But I did like that, Amy did it in a way where he obviously knew what was happening, but she did it in a way that was sort of, subtle. She wasn't, distracted by, doing her job, even though it wasn't a job that she really wanted to take on. So I thought Amy handled it really well, even though she was sort of dragged into the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wish that we got a little bit of an idea of why Peter likes this job so much in Calgary or in Vancouver, because I mean, he's sacrificing a lot. And if we got one little snippet of kind of why this is worth it, whereas what's the difference between this and this job that Tanner is just, I guess Tanner's a jerk, so he doesn't want to work for him. But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like a corporate job is a corporate job, like is it that big of a difference? So why is he holding on to that so strongly to the point of sacrificing his family for it? It's a little, I wish they kind of maybe gave us some idea a little bit more into his mind with that. And I do feel bad for Lou, because I don't know. I mean, I guess every marriage is different, but I feel like it's tough to have a marriage that's just on the weekends. Like, I feel like you need to be together more than that.
And that works for some people, but in this situation, it just is not working. And unfortunately, the girls are, they have a weekend dad type of thing, so it's not working for them.
Yeah, it felt like in this episode, like, not so much in the next episode, but specifically this one, that he literally just came home to see the girls. Like, all his attention is sort of focused on the kids, as opposed to his marriage and Lou, and it does feel like he is just sort of a drop-in dad at this point, which is really sad.
Yeah, and I mean, Peter, he says he likes things the way they are. That seems unlikely. Like,
yeah,
I mean, how could you like being in a marriage that's not functioning well? I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense that he would say that to me.
Also with, Lou, I can understand her hesitancy to like not want to just, I'm just going to take the girls, uproot them, and move to Vancouver with Peter, because one, she had that really bad situation with Dubai. She was by herself. And two, she has two girls now that have a life, are settled in a place. Yeah, I think this is just a difficult situation.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't agree. I think it's in the next episode. I'm not sure, where she accuses him of having an affair and stuff like that. Like, that's maybe going a little too far, but it just doesn't make sense.
She's reaching at that point. Like, yeah.
It doesn't make sense that a human would be happy in this situation. You like all of that traveling, and just like, even if that was a even if that was a way that was a happy marriage, then some couples probably do have that kind of marriage. That's not what's happening here, right? So like is he going to be happy with a miserable wife? Like that just doesn't make sense. And so he either has to convince her to move to where he wants to, or he has to decide to be with her, one or the other, because or the marriage is not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, he mentioned like, oh, you know, I tried that, like tried to find a job in the area. I'm like, did we ever see him try to find a job near them? Or was it, I always just remember it, he was always in Vancouver. Ever since the Dubai thing went down, he was in Vancouver.
I feel like there was a little period when he was like basically being the stay-at-home dad, which I wish they just kept him that was like the best, and have Lou be the breadwinner of the family. That was like the perfect thing for their marriage. I wish they just kept that.
Same.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying, Michelle?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think there was a whole section where he was sort of stay-at-home dad, unemployed and really struggling to find work. But yeah, it does. I've sort of reached a point with Lou and Peter where I'm not sort of picking sides, because it is so complicated. I'm just reached a point where I just don't think they're well suited to each other. Like they clearly want different things. I think Peter is a city guy, so it's not so much about being in Vancouver, it's about not being in Heartland. But unfortunately he's got a wife that, you know, clearly wants to live in Heartland, and two daughters that are very attached, particularly Georgie. So it is just a situation that I think that they are just not meant to be, which is really sad.
Weird to me that he wasn't like wanting to be invested in Heartland, because he said he grew up in a rural area when they originally met. So yeah,
and they didn't do a great job of sort of building up to the relationship to begin with. And even when they on their wedding day, like Lou's kind of like, should I get married to this person? Like, and so I don't know, I feel like from the very beginning it's not been a relationship with all that much chemistry and with all that much like investment from me, at least as a viewer. And so it just makes it hard when it just seems like it's a relationship of conflict.
I agree. I mean, I've been a diehard Lou Scott shipper from day one, so I'm just not invested.
And that was just dropped for no reason, which was very frustrating. But
now that I've watched a lot more Canadian television, I think honestly the reason he stopped being in the show that much is because he's just gotten gigs on other shows, because I've seen him so much now in the past year that I've been binge watching other shows. Like since he got like stopped being on Heartland as much, he's had a ton of parts on other shows, like a couple episode arcs on other shows. So I could see why he's not on the show as much. So
yeah, he was on a in a Hallmark movie just this last season. So yeah, you see him around. He was on The Baker's Son this summer. So but anyway, it's just hard when you're not that invested in the relationship to begin with, and then the characters are making frustrating choices. But you also have in this episode, you have this whole thing with Jack getting on Georgie about cleaning the stall and riding Phoenix. And it does seem like that Georgie does have a lot on her plate for a young woman.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think that he's kind of holding her to the standard that he held Amy to. Because this is when the series started, this is what Amy did every day. She went to school. She took care of the horses. She did all this stuff. And so I think Jack is holding Georgie to that same standard.
But they don't have an assistant. I forget what the word, like they had Ty, and then they had Caleb, and they don't have somebody in that spot. right now.
They don't have a ranch hand right now, which is
Ranch hand,
making
that's the word.
everyone have more responsibilities than they normally would, which I think is Caleb not working there right now?
I don't think so. He's doing the whole business thing.
He comes and goes so frequently. It's like, is he working there or not now?
At least he got rid of that terrible hair.
That's true. That's very true.
So that's probably part of the reason why Georgie's having to do so much work. But she wants to ride Phoenix, but she just is having a hard time with school and with everything going on. And so she recruits Steven to help her with Phoenix. And then she proceeds to kind of micromanage him as he rides her. And he says, I don't want to do that anymore. Riding a horse is supposed to be fun, and you made it not fun, which I think is probably accurate.
Yeah,
I think she was being very Mallory-like in this episode.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. You also have Caleb giving Ty a check for his part of the business because he wants to run it with Jesse. But the problem is that Caleb is also dating Cassandra on the side when Cassandra is supposed to be with Jesse. So all kinds of shenanigans going on. Ty ends up burning the check, which was quite the moment.
Dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Michelle, about Ty and Caleb and Cassandra and Jesse and all this drama?
I mean, I loved the scene of like Amy and Ty seeing them. It's so funny when they were like ducking out of the way. But yeah, like Cassandra, like, oh my God, like she can pick them. Like first the guy that like caused all the problems for Ty, Jeremy, yeah, and then Jesse and Caleb, who I love, but you wouldn't set your friend up with them. But yeah, like just like a disaster waiting to happen in terms of Caleb. And I do like that Ty is just like he wanted out of the business, but he's not gonna abandon his best friend.
Yeah, I did think it was so funny, that whole scene when they're like, are they making out? Oh, they're not making they're definitely making out.
Yeah. And the look on Ty and Amy's faces when they just see them, it's so funny. I love it. Oh my gosh.
That was
But
really
not only
funny.
does Cassandra know how to pick them, but also like Caleb first, Jesse's sister, and now Jesse's girlfriend. Like Caleb.
Yeah. And basically that Jesse has loaned Caleb a certain amount of money as part of the business. And if Jesse calls back that loan, because it's not like an investment, where he's risking, he's loaning, then Caleb will have to declare bankruptcy. So it's a bad situation. So if Jesse gets upset about things going on with Cassandra, it's going to be a mess. So
yeah.
You also have Katie here wanting a pink dress, which I thought was a cute.
It's so cute.
Bit.
Which I mean, pink dress, I don't think that'd be that bad. I mean, Amy's bedroom's been pink for most of the series, so I don't see why she wouldn't be okay with a pink dress for the wedding.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like people are kind of picking whatever they want. So.
Yeah.
I feel like that's Amy's style of just like wear whatever you want.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I feel like though, at least the way they like decorate Amy's stuff, Amy seems like she enjoys. She's not like a super pink person, but like seems like she enjoys pink because a lot of her stuff is pink. So
yeah. So Lisa and Jack make up at the end, and then Amy says to Ty, "Let's always tell each other the truth." And then he also gets the bag of money from Caleb, and then they say he like pours it on Amy. They're so weird about their flirting. Ty and Amy. So what are we gonna do with all this money? And that's how the episode ends. So What would you give this episode, Michelle, a 1 to 10?
I'd probably give it an 8.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Amy?
I'll give it an 8.5.
Yeah, I will agree with Michelle and give it an 8. All right, last episode is called Broken Heartland. And it's Ty and Amy decide to have a weekend alone in Montana when they find a hitcher. Back at the ranch, Lou confronts Peter about the job offer and why he turned it down. Meanwhile, Georgie volunteers at the vet clinic. So that undersells the Jade and Georgie plot line, I think.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Amy, what did you think overall of this episode?
This is a cute episode. I really like it. There's one thing in particular that kind of bugs me about this episode. I'm sure we'll get into it a little later, but there's a specific thing that bugs me about this episode.
Okay, good. Well, what did you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I like this one. I thought he did a really good job of like bringing Jade back and sort of not changing her, but making her much more sort of palatable. And I hate the term sort of likable, but you know, she was, you know, a bit of a wild child when they first introduced her. She's definitely calmed down a lot. And I thought she'd fit in really well with the show this time around. I will say, like, the snake thing, like anything that comes with a snake should come with a warning. I can't even like look at them. And I like closed my laptop the second it like showed up. So I did not appreciate the snake part of the episode.
I'm that way with rats or mice. Oh, that's so gross.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're animated. Even Ratatouille, I'm like, oh, that's pretty realistic looking. That's gross.
Oh.
I've seen it Disney World. They have this new Ratatouille section and like these giant rats all. Nevertheless,
Yeah, but isn't that what Mickey is? Like,
I know, but it's like it's not realistic. Or is this like Ratatouille? It looks pretty like realistic as like a real rat as opposed to Mickey Mouse. Anyway, that's my issues. But I worked through it. I still like Ratatouille.
I'd
Anyway.
rather have a pet rat than a pet snake.
Oh my god!
But that's just me.
Neither one. I don't want either one.
The only problem with that would be is my cats would probably try to eat said rat. Yeah. So yeah.
Anyway, then so in this there's this whole plot line where Jade and Georgie end up working at the clinic, and I thought that was all really funny. I enjoyed that whole plot. They of course lose the snake they're supposed to be taken care of, and they're trying to find it, and then there's a lump in the snake and they think they ate the chihuahua, which that would be a very large lump. I know it's a small chihuahua, but still, I don't know, I just thought all of that was really funny. I enjoyed it. And you also have they're having a Sadie Hawkins dance, and so Georgie is considering asking Steven, but she's scared, so Jade is trying to kind of encourage her, and I liked when she's like there's no way that skinny prepubescent boy will say no to you. It was good, I thought. And I don't know, what do you think of that, Michelle? Aside from the snakes, did you think that was funny?
Aside
or
from
was
the
it
snake,
too much?
almost it was too much. I think they have like such good chemistry, those actors. And it's one of the things that I've always sort of not criticized, but it's one of the sort of unfortunate things about Heartland is like they haven't really given Amy like a consistent friend.
That's true.
And I would really love them to, obviously I know that Jade sticks around for a long time, but the idea of Georgie having like a good friend is something that was really missing. Like, you know, Amy had Mallory, but there was sort of a big age difference, and she was kind of like a mentor. But yeah, I really like where this is going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really fun. It was cute. And then when she finally does ask him, it was cute. Steven was cute. I liked the whole thing. It was good. So we also find out that Ty doesn't want to invite his mother to their wedding because she sounded drunk. And so she's relapsed, evidently. And he always has a rough relationship with Wade as it is. So I feel like you have to invite your parents to the wedding. I don't know. I just, I can't imagine not inviting. And I guess there's some people that are so estranged to the point of no contact, to the point that they wouldn't invite their parents to the wedding. But what about your parents to the wedding? I don't know. What do you think, Amy?
I mean, they have right now they have regular contact with each other. So I think it's weird that they're not, that he wouldn't invite her, because they are talking kind of on a regular basis. If it was like, oh, I haven't spoken to my mom in 2 years, like, I don't think it'd be that weird not inviting her. But since they talk, that's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could even have a conversation with her and say, this is what we expect. If you want to come, this is what you have to do. You'd have to have that tough conversation rather than not inviting her at all.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So Amy and Ty go on a trip. They're going to go to Montana. On the way, they stop and they go trail riding, and that was beautiful. It looked gorgeous.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It was very pretty. And then they get back and their truck is gone. And
oh my God, like left the keys and the the phones, like everything.
Yeah, I mean, because you're in the middle of nowhere. Like, I think that I can understand why they probably felt pretty comfortable. But yeah, the thing that I didn't really buy is the fact that they would, and when they found the hitchhiker who had stolen their car, they immediately like welcome her basically, and they forgive her and everything. And I feel like, especially the fact that it was Tim's car, I feel like that wasn't very realistic.
Yeah. Like I, they should have at least brought the keys with them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, I don't know. I guess they're more forgiving than I would be, but I would be really mad. And they're just like, okay, we'll give you a ride. So yes. And Ty's like, I'm never gonna live this down. Your dad's gonna kill me.
Yeah, his reaction was really funny.
Mm-hmm. And then Lou and Peter, they are fighting this whole episode. We kind of talked about some of the fight last episode that's also in this episode. He says, I worked hard for the job in Vancouver. Why can't you move there? Why am I the only one that's asked to change? I think that I feel a little bit like, Peter, you knew what you signed up for when you married this woman. You knew that she was, I mean, we talked about how a couple needs to grow and change together, but then there's also a factor of like, you can't kind of expect people to change, or like you kind of have to know what you're signing up for when you marry someone, right? And he knew that she loved Heartland and that she grew up here, and that, I mean, that it was going to be asking a lot to take her out of the ranch. And whereas with him, it's not the same. Like, he's not as tied to a place, or as, like her marrying him, there wasn't that kind of expectations. So I feel a little bit like there's this whole story in there's this whole parable of this Indian who picks up this snake at the bottom of the hill, takes the snake up to the top of the hill. Then the snake bites him. He says, why did you bite me? I took you up to the hill. And he says, you knew what I was when you picked me up. And that's how I feel sometimes. Like, you knew what she was when you started this whole thing, and you went, and now you're expecting her to change. And she's not going to change that fundamentally of who she is. That's not going to happen. So I don't know. It was frustrating because these characters are fighting, but it was, I don't know, it was an interesting kind of situation, I guess, for them finally getting all this out. What do you think, Michelle, about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, argue all day about who's right and who's wrong. And, there's so many, Peter, he did know, and I do sort of sympathize with him in the fact that, he has, built this life in Vancouver that, he's very work orientated. So it makes sense that he's very attached to that. But he also was going to build a house on Heartland, on the land there. Mm-hmm. So on some sort of, he would have known that, Lou wanted to build a life there. And Lou came back from Dubai, so he knew that she was very attached to Heartland and that side as well. And I know that he wasn't for, buying the house that Lou bought, but again, it is just another thing of Lou wants roots here. Lou has roots there and wants to keep them. And I think it is just a case of they've never actually discussed where they want to live and where they want to, build their life together. It's just all been assumed on both parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Katie draws this picture of her dad with an airplane, and that was very sad. And Luke says, "There's something keeping you from me and your family," and so she basically accuses him of having an affair, which was harsh. But I thought that he did make a good point when he says, you make tons of decisions by yourself, even purchasing the home of that house by yourself without consulting him, and purchasing Maggie's without consulting him, things like that. And that's a good point. But then again, he's not there, which he's supposed to do. So
exactly. It's his life just keeps stopping and starting all of the time. And he can't expect Lou to do that the same when she's got 2 kids and, multiple businesses to run. It just comes down to the fact that I just don't think they're well matched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Peter says, aside from Georgie and Katie, what's keeping us together?
Oh my God, yeah, that was a killer.
Yeah. And they say goodbye. And then you have this whole thing with, like I said, the thief. She is a big fan of Lindy, Jack's wife, her music and everything. What's that?
This was so random. After the episode, I was Googling, is this because they do this on Heartland of having a real life person play themselves. I was is this a country singer from like Canada that I've never heard of? Was it
oh yeah,
guest star? It was so random. It's was this whole thing just to get Ty to invite his mum to his wedding?
Yeah, so that's the thing that bugged the thing that bugs me about this episode is they set this girl up so much. And this may be a spoiler alert, but I feel like they set her up a lot in this episode. You get to know a lot about her, and just her being there is only to help Ty invite his mom to the wedding. We never see this girl again ever.
Yeah, I googled. I was I need to know if she comes back because this is driving me crazy because she's not famous.
Right.
And that's what bugs me so much is I'm they did a lot to set this girl up. I feel more than just using her as a way to further Ty's story, and you never see her again. She's gone. She goes to her mom and she's perfectly fine, and Amy and Ty never see her again. So
yeah, and I don't think you'd get that much panhandling on some random road stop like that. I think you do all that well, but and then you also have Amy coming back. They don't go on the trip because Jack tells her that she needs to come home and help Lou. And she's talking to Lou, and I thought it was a very sweet moment when she says, I have lots of other clinics. I only have one sister. Because you don't see that many like bonding moments between Amy and Lou. Like usually it's sort of more of a group situation kind of a thing, but this was just the two of them. Thought it was a really nice moment for the characters.
Yeah, I love their sister moments, and I wish we get more of it in future seasons as well, but I just wish we had more just the two of them being sisters, just hanging out, talking about their life, things like that, like sisters would. But yeah.
So then Lou decides she's going to go to Vancouver, and they're going to have talk about with Peter. And so I guess we'll see what's going to happen with that. But I guess that couldn't hurt to have it, to knock it out and to show Peter that she is, invested in their relationship and trying to make it work. So very good. Michelle, what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
Like a 7.5. I liked the episode. Just that whole storyline was so random that it knocked it down a little bit for me.
And you lose a point for the snakes.
Oh yeah. Right, yeah, 7 then. 7.
All right. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 7 as well.
I agree. I'll go with 7. So 3 pretty strong episodes, I would say, for this season. And we'll be excited to talk about the next season next week. So Amy, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter at It's Amy Craig.
Great. And Michelle?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check all of that out. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. That really helps us out a lot. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We so appreciate all of the great comments that we get over on YouTube. So thank you very much. And then we also have our patron group, which is only $2 a month to join. And it really helps us out a lot. Please take a look at that. And we have our merch store, which has some Heartland inspired merch. So take a look at that. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk next week. And bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.